Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video. My name is Brendon Leigh, and in today's video I'm going to teach you how to master the Miami circuit in F123. How this video format is going to work is I'm going to drive around the track slowly, highlighting every braking point, every turn-in point, every detail of every corner, every apex that can help you master the lap. At the end of the video I will do a full speed lap, further explaining in a full speed live demonstration on how to execute the corners perfectly. So with that being said, we're arriving to turn 1. Turn 1, you'll be full throttle with the DRS wide open in 8th gear. You'll be braking at the 100-meter board, or more ideally or conveniently marked at the start of the red and white painted curb beneath the car. Track is going to rise uphill slightly in the braking zone, so you have to watch out for that, as the car can become a bit uneven, unsteady, and a bit oversteery as you get towards the apex. You'll be in 4th gear, with actually quite a late shift down to 3rd. The 3rd gear is actually not for slowing down the car, but in fact for accelerating the car out of the corner. The car is more stable in 4th gear in the braking zone, but you want to be down in 3rd gear to make sure you can get the power from the engine on the exit. It doesn't really matter too much if you get to the apex here of turn 1. Ideally you do, but if you don't, you can just carry more speed throughout the corner and get back on the power sooner. So ideally hit the apex, but it's not the end of the world if you don't. On the exit of turn 1, your car is going to be as close to the middle of the track as possible to open up turn 2. Turn 2 is very difficult and really requires quite a lot of technique on the throttle, because you want to be on this inside curving here to open up the next apex. It will become very slippery and you have to manage the throttle percent usage quite a lot. But if you get the technique right, you can find tenths on this corner alone. Straight lining as much as possible to turn 3. Turn 3 should be flat out. If it's not, you need to compromise turn 1 and turn 2 a little bit more to make sure you can take out this fast flowing turn 3 completely flat out, because that will gain you a lot more time. Hey look, the podium's on the right hand side. Very nice. I actually didn't notice that before. Coming up into the very difficult high-speed sequence, because you want to bring the car over to right-hand side, and you'll be dabbing the brake at the 50-meter board and starting to turn in around here as well. Doesn't really have an exact turn-in marker, so 50 meters is about the time that you want to start preparing mentally to turn into the apex. These apexes are so difficult in this high-speed section here because, as you can see, they're rising up quite a lot and they fall off with their height towards the inside of the curbing. Thus meaning, if you can see where my left tyre is, here is the perfect place to put your tyre. That means you're not going to be bottoming out the car on the curbing or the floor of the car, and you're going to get as much track width as possible. If you put your car like this and go right up to the wall, the bottom of the car will actually hit the curbing and will generate unpredictable understeer and oversteer scenarios of the car, what will be slower in every single eventuality and probably will lead to a crash as well. Coming out of what will be the first left-hander of this sequence, you'll be setting up the next right-hander, and same rules apply. You want to get the right-hand tyres as much on the curb as possible, but never over the curb, because that will cause the car to bottom out. On the exit of this corner, your car will be naturally pushing to the left-hand side of the track. You want to limit this as much as possible. And again, the same rules apply. Get your tyre on the curb, but not fully over the curb, as will cause the car to oversteer and become unpredictable. Something to really watch out for here now is tyre temperatures. You've already done 3 high-speed corners in a row. It's really difficult for especially the surface temperature of the tyre, let alone the carcass. So, as you're arriving to this braking zone, what is up there with Bahrain's turn 10 and turn 11 braking zone is some of the most difficult on the calendar. You want to be making the car as straight as possible for, again, a turn that you don't really have a reference marker for. So what I like to do is carry as much speed in as possible, and as soon as the car naturally gravitates towards the outside painted curbing, and then you can start applying the brakes when the car becomes in a straight line or starts to become connected with the outside curbing. And once you pick up a good line and a good flow, what I'll show you later in the video when we do a full speed lap demonstration, you'll be able to pick up a good momentum throughout this apex. Really critical to get the inside curbing though. Otherwise, you'll just find yourself understeering, and onto this long deer straight, you'll be super vulnerable in a racing condition, and you'll lose half a second, if not more, in a qualifying condition. Same rules apply for the exit curb. Get 2 wheels on it, but never over it. Otherwise, you will bottom out and lose out time on the straight. DRS detection is there, just as we've gone past it. So in a racing situation, it's key to remember. DRS activation is here as we're going through this little right-left on the straight. As you approach the next braking zone down towards the left-right, really fun section, to be honest. Difficult, but fun. You want to bring your car all the way as close as possible to the wall without getting the left-hand side of the car over the white line. And as you go underneath this F123 advertising board or the 100-meter board, whatever you prefer to use as your reference marker for this corner, you want to start hitting the brake as hard as possible and start aiming the car towards the inside curbing. Something that is worth noting is technically the game counts this as off the track. Although you have still 2 wheels inside of the track, so you won't get an invalidation, don't worry. There is less grip outside of the track on the painted curbings, and the normal off-track as well. So like I say, anything that is a curbing, painted curbing, like my car is over right now, or off the track, even if it's tarmac, will be more dusty, so will give you less grip. But using more track width and extending the track width by about 1.5 meters is more than enough to gain lap time and overcome the slight grip loss that you might feel. So if you're locking up the inside tyre, the outside tyre, any of the front tyres in this position, that is more than likely why, so just take that into account. You want to get to this inside curbing as much as possible. Again, don't go over it. This curbing has a sausage curb, what's much more significant than the previous curbings we have seen on the track so far. But again, it's not faster to go with the inside curbing. The fastest way actually is just to get your wheel slightly on the painted part of the curb, but not actually to touch the bump. If you touch the bump, it can upset the rear of the car and make it slide around a little bit more, and you want ultimate precision coming into the next sequence. So making the car slide around minimal is the key through here. Through here, you actually will be looking to be in 3rd gear and hugging the wall as much as possible. Like I say, it's very difficult, technical, but I think it's a fun challenge through here. And you're trying to get back on the power. The car will be double loaded, and double loading is when the car is steering and accelerating or steering and braking. Anything that you have 2 G-forces applying at the same time, I like to call double loading. On the exit of this turn, you really want to just be prioritizing your racing line to open up this next corner. So you can see, as soon as I come out the corner, I'm pointing my car to the next wall on the inside, the black wall on the inside of the apex, because that will allow me the best racing line possible to set up this really difficult braking zone, to be honest. As you're driving through this corner with the rear sliding around so much because you're at low speed with almost full power applied, instantly you'll be coming out of this apex and hitting the brakes. You'll be looking to sort of hit the brakes as soon as this painted curb starts, the red and white section, and getting your car towards the outside of the track as much as possible. This chicane is very difficult, and a chicane that you really have to try and abuse the track limits as much as possible. And this is how you abuse the track limits. So if you see here, technically the right hand tire of my car is off the track. But if we go to 3rd person camera, technically, although my front right tyre is off the track, my rear tyre is still on the track. The rule dictates in F1 that you always have to have at least 1 tyre on the track. So providing that as soon as I go off the track my rear tyre, my front tyre is back on the track, and vice versa. If I slightly reverse, as soon as my front tyre is off the track, my rear tyre is on the track. So this is how you can create a bit of a loophole and get around the track limits rule in Formula 1. Happens in real Formula 1 as well, to my knowledge. Same logic will apply with the 2nd apex. Although it will be much more difficult because they have a sausage curb on the inside of this apex, you want to apply the same logic and basically try to get the car over the curbing and as straight line as possible, as this will allow you to abuse the track limits as much as possible. Again, not really my favorite thing to do, but you got to do what you got to do to try and maximize your lap times. If you want to be ethical, drive around the curb, but it will lose you half a second, if not more. So it's your choice there. Of course, much more risk comes from much more reward. If this track is an F1 esports or any league racing that we might be doing, or I might be doing, or you might be doing at home as well, you'll see every single driver trying to push the limits of the track limit as much as possible. On the exit of the chicane, it's really important, I should say, to not actually go to the left-hand side of the track, because you really want to focus to get the car back over to the right and hit the brake and get the car rotated into this final left-hander. The track goes slightly downhill here, what will give you the feeling of understeer and lack of traction. So you really want to get as close to this curve as possible, but never touch it, as that will unsettle the car and give you worse traction. You can slightly see what I mean here about the track going downhill, and then we'll start to race back up the hill soon after. DRS detection is right there after you come out the left-hander. So that is critical to remember, and as soon as you possibly can, get DRS wide open, and you'll be flying down this back straight. Really such a fast straight, with such a low downforce relative for the speed that you're carrying around this fantastic Miami track, to be honest. You really have to focus on braking late here, and you'll be braking just underneath the Aramco barrier, or if you're really trying to push the limits in qualifying, the 100-meter board. You don't really want to go on the painted curbing here, because it gives less grip, and you're not really opening up the track much more than you would be by just staying normally on the track where it has full grip. A little secret here is to try and go down the gears as slowly as possible, just to avoid that rear locking. I'll give you a demonstration in the next lap on how you can do this efficiently. So there, like I say, braking the 100-meter board, and you'll be going down gears and arriving into the left-hander here, and trying not to hit the inside curbing and let the car rotate through. You can gain half a tenth by braking slightly later, but you can gain easily a tenth and a half by being better on the power here, especially because the tyres were really suffering. There's a bit of a split decision here on the exit. You can use more track and go over the painted curbing. You'll have more track to play with, but slightly less grip. I prefer to keep the car fully on the full grip tarmac, and that will give you the ability to get maximum traction out of the final corner. The left to right are easily flat out, even in the rain conditions. So what we're going to do now is open DRS and go for a full speed lap here in the Miami Circuit. So turn 1, when the curbing starts, down to 4th gear and down to 3rd, just to make sure we get the power on the exit. Slight lift of the throttle, now back hard, full throttle. Keep the car as tight as possible through the right-hander. 50-meter board coming up. Drop it down to 6th gear. Again, dab the curb, hold to 6th gear, dab the curb again, and now 6th gear again, dab. And as soon as the car comes out to the outside curbing, hit the brake. Ooh, bit of rear locking there. Make sure you get the inside curb and the outside curbing hard, back on the power. 6th, 7th gear, 8th gear, opening up the DRS as soon as possible, hugging the inside wall for least distance down the straight. F123 banner, looking to go down to 4th gear initially, and then a late downshift down to 3rd, just to make sure you get the rotation and the traction. Stability for this right-hander is critical. Aim for the next wall, short shift to 4th if you like. Use up all the track. Again, jump the curb. Remember the white line rule, through the left-hander. Smooth back on the power as you're coming towards the end of a lap, and as soon as possible, open up this DRS. DRS wide open now in 8th gear. We're going to be well over 200 miles an hour. Spot the Aramco or the 100-meter board if you're feeling brave. We're going to go for the 100-meter board today. Down to 3rd gear, like I say, smooth downshift, and then hard back on the power, and make sure that you keep it flat to the left, flat to the right, open up DRS. And this was a hot lap and a track guide here at Miami on F123. If you've enjoyed the video and found it helpful, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. I really appreciate the support. It truly helps me out so much. And yeah, I will be doing these type of videos for every single track on the Formula 1 calendar, so be sure to keep your eye out for those, because these videos are becoming thick and they're becoming fast. So with that being said, I've been Brendon Leigh. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next video. Glad to see you. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.